Hello, everyone. On today's podcast episode, I'm going to talk about cryptocurrencies and the problem with cryptocurrencies as a whole. So, what I want to say before I dive into cryptocurrencies is a statistic that I read. I've heard of this statistic before, but it's not the same one. There's been many statistics done on businesses. Many studies done on businesses over the years. You know, back in like 10 years ago, like about 10 years ago, the statistics show that, 80% of all businesses fail within, 10 years, right? Yeah. So there's a statistic that goes on that shows that, 80% of all businesses fail within 10 years. And the more recent updated version of that statistics, you know, I think I read the statistic like last year. It shows that 90% of all businesses fail within 10 years, 80% fail within 5 years, and then 90% fail within 10 years. So these are reputable, these are normal businesses. These are businesses, licensed businesses under the control of the government. These aren't cryptocurrencies. These are just regular businesses, as in you have to get, talk to the government, get a business license, get this, get that, get the paperwork done before before your business is considered a real business. So these aren't the scam ones. These are regular businesses. And yet 90% of them fail within 10 years. So if you're an investor, you should let that sink in. If you're someone who likes to invest in, new businesses, you should understand that 90% of the businesses you invest in, the new businesses you invest in, 90% of them will fail within 10 years. So you see your chances of actually getting a real successful business. If you're not someone who's creating your own business, right? You're someone who likes to invest in other businesses, startups, new startups. If you invest in a new startup, just know that 90% of those startups, right, fail within 10 years, 90%. And these are normal startups. These aren't cryptocurrencies, just normal, regular, everyday business, right? And your chances of success, if you're, it's no different from a gamble. You're gambling, and your chances of winning in this gamble is 10%. Only 10%. But that's if you decide to hold the company for 10 years. If you're someone who just wants to make money and get out, there are ways for you to make money and get out of a company. You buy the company, and then while the company is still figuring things out, you trick someone into buying it for a higher price from you. You trick someone into buying it for a higher price from you before the company goes bankrupt. And then the company gets, when the company does go bankrupt within, 10 years, it has nothing to do with you. You've already made your money, and left. You're just an investor. You're not the owner of the company. You're not the founder of the company. You have no real, stake involved except money. So you can make money that way as well. But the truth is, if you're a real investor, in startups, just know that 90% of the businesses fail. So if you're someone who's very experienced in, running businesses and, managing businesses, if you don't, pay attention to what these business owners are doing, you have to micromanage every business you invest in. Otherwise, these businesses will fail on their own. If you're pretty good at, creating businesses, if you're pretty good at managing businesses, to success, and you're an investor, make sure, you have full understanding of what's going on, within the business. Otherwise, guess what? You should just let these business owners do whatever they want. They'll just run the business to, 90% of the time, they'll run the business to the ground. There's a 90% chance they'll run your business to the ground. The business spend all that money investing in, they'll run it to the ground within 10 years. there's a 90% chance of it. And this statistics, you can find it online. I'm not making this up. Most of the things that, most of the statistics I tell you about on this podcast, just a simple Google search, just search whatever you want to search on Google, and it'll pop up. You can even use Google Gemini or Chat GPT. Just ask them that question, and they'll find the most accurate source of information you can find, based on it. But you have to also be careful about AI. Is that AI doesn't always tell the truth. It's not that they're lying; it's that they don't know what the truth is, so they can mislead you. Some of the answers are very misleading. There have been many videos and articles of people complaining that you know, AI answers are so wrong that they're practically useless. So when it comes to facts, be careful with AI. There have been cases where AI led someone to commit suicide. There have been cases where AI gave the false financial advice or false medical advice, and the person ended up dying. So if you're someone who uses AI, it's a very powerful tool. I won't say AI is useless, but you also have to know that there's a drawback to it. Nothing is perfect in this world, and neither is AI. No one is perfect, and nothing is perfect, and AI isn't perfect. So since AI isn't perfect, you should use your due diligence when dealing with AI. But that's not what I'm talking about here. Let's go back to cryptocurrencies real quick, right? So on regular businesses, right? 90% of regular businesses fail. These are regulated businesses by the government. The government regulates these businesses, right? They make sure most of them are scams, and if they are scams, it's easy for the government to find out because these businesses have homes, they have business locations, they have owners, founders, whatever you want to call it, business creators, their names are, recorded on file. The government knows where to find them. The government knows where to get them if anything bad happens to them. So there are less chances of them being scams because the government knows exactly where they are, their location, the location of the business, where the business is operated, the owners, where they're located, where they're operated, whether geographically they have a GPS, where GPS location finders that the cops can use to find these people. So they're less likely for you to find, it's less likely for a business to be corrupt than it is for the cryptocurrency business to be corrupt. In the cryptocurrency space, the businesses, right? They're businesses from all over the world. You're not only dealing with businesses in the United States, businesses in Europe, in all these developed countries. You're also dealing with businesses from undeveloped countries as well. And not all of these cryptocurrency coins or tokens are businesses. A random stranger can just create a cryptocurrency. You don't have to have a business to create a cryptocurrency. Anyone, even a 5-year-old child, can create a cryptocurrency. That's how easy it is to create cryptocurrencies. So think about this. In a world where 90% of our businesses fail, right? Doesn't it automatically tell you that most of the businesses in the cryptocurrency world, 90% of them will also fail, right? If 90% of businesses fail, that means 90% of cryptocurrency businesses fail as well. So if you're someone who invests in cryptocurrencies, you have to be even more careful than when you invest in regular businesses. Why? Because unlike regular businesses that require government approval, cryptocurrencies do not require any government approval whatsoever. Anybody can create a cryptocurrency. Any scammer can create a cryptocurrency. Any child can create a cryptocurrency. Any terrorist group can create a cryptocurrency. Any outlaw can create a cryptocurrency. Any criminal can create a cryptocurrency. So that should tell you something. It should tell you that even when the world is, when statistics is already going against cryptocurrencies, since 90% of businesses fail, These are reputable businesses. 90% of them fail within 10 years. If 90% of businesses fail within 10 years, that means 90% of cryptocurrency businesses fail as well, because they're all part of the same gene pool. They're all part of the same pool. If 90% of cryptocurrencies fail within 10 years, that means the vast majority of the cryptocurrencies you invest in will be, right now, the startup cryptocurrencies right now, the vast majority of them will fail within 10 years. And this is just the 90%. The remaining 10%, right? You still have to factor in the scammers, right? You have to factor in all the scammers out there. So it's more of a wild, wild west in the cryptocurrency world because, regular 9% of regular businesses fail, right? And these are the ones you expect to find in the cryptocurrency space. But yet these reputable businesses, right? These normal regulated businesses are few and far between in the cryptocurrency space in and of itself. Because anybody can create a cryptocurrency. Because anybody can create a cryptocurrency, there'll be far more cryptocurrencies from normal people, right? Average Joes, terrorist groups, outlaws, gangs, cartels, and all these gangs and bad people than there are from reputable businesses. So your chances of being scammed is even higher. Your chances of of investing in a failed project, cryptocurrency project, is even higher than investing in a regular business. If you invest in a regular business, at least the government's regulation can stop most of the scams. Teenagers are not allowed to create businesses unless it's like their own self-owned business, or unless the parents are the one helping them, create these businesses. But yet, any teenager can go online and create a cryptocurrency. Any child can go online and create a cryptocurrency. You see? Because any child can go online and create a cryptocurrency project with the website and all that. It's not that hard to borrow your parents' credit card or debit card to buy a website. It's not that hard. It's not that hard to create a cryptocurrency and then just post it online on YouTube or Facebook and let it trick people into buying it. It's not that hard. So if you're someone who likes to invest in cryptocurrencies, you have to be very, very careful. The world is already, the chances of you getting, a business, a cryptocurrency that'll last, 10 years, that'll last, the length of time, that'll be reputable, that'll still be around 10 years from now, is already low. It's already, less than 10%. And then you add the fact that, they're scammers, they're just children playing around, they're criminals, there's so many things involved, other than just, the businesses themselves. Your chances of actually finding a real business in the cryptocurrency space is even lower than it is, a real business that'll last, for decades, that'll make your money grow over time. Your chances of finding a business that'll make your money grow over time is even lower than, when you invest in a regular business. It's already 10% in a regular business. In the world of regular businesses, it's 10%. Your chances is 10%. In the world of cryptocurrencies, it's probably like 2%. Your chances of finding a good, reputable business, if you want to invest in startups in the cryptocurrency space, your chances of finding a good business that will last 10 years plus is probably less than 2%. Because the remaining 8%, right, of that 10% of businesses that can last, 10 years are the scams. There's a lot of scams in the cryptocurrency space. And just ignoring all the regulated businesses, there are a lot of scams in the cryptocurrency space. There are a lot of failed projects. There are a lot of cryptocurrencies created by people who just want to make money. They don't really care about their future. They're not regulated businesses. They're just some random stranger decided to just create a cryptocurrency project, create a website, and see if they can scam people out of their money. They don't really care about the future. They just want to make money right now. So the cryptocurrency space is even more difficult. when it comes to investing. If you're someone who wants to invest, you should probably in cryptocurrencies. The first thing you need to do is make sure that the cryptocurrency you're investing in is actually something that's been around for 10 years. If the cryptocurrency that you're investing in hasn't been around for 10 years, and not just 10 years of failure, but 10 years of success, like things like Bitcoin. I'm not telling you to invest in Bitcoin because I don't know what the future of Bitcoin. I'm just telling you that 10 years is a good time. After 10 years, you at least know that 90% of the businesses have all the failed businesses are gone. So if you want to invest in cryptocurrencies, look for cryptocurrencies that have been around for 10 years. That should be a benchmark. At least that 90% of the bad ones are gone. More than 90% of the bad ones are gone. And then, see whether, this is actually the right one for you or not. Then do your own research on whether, it's worth investing or not. The other thing you can do is probably just hire someone, an investment planner or whatever you want to call them, a financial planner or investment guru. People who have been, who gets paid to do this, to do this job for you. And if you want to hire some sort of investment planner or whatever, you should probably choose someone that's been around for 10 years, because these investment planners and financial planners or financial investors, that's also a business. So if you invest in the younger ones, there's a 90% chance that that person is not, will fail you within 10 years as well. So if you want to use someone as if you want to use an investment planner or, some sort of, lawyer, investment lawyer, whatever you want to call them, there are different types of them, just know that if they're not 10 years old, they don't have 10 years worth of experience, chances are they'll fail you within 10 years. You don't want someone to fail you within 10 years, within 10 years to manage your money. You don't want someone managing your money who doesn't have that, that 10 years worth of experience. You need someone at least 10 years worth of experience to be managing your money. Otherwise, there's a 90% chance they'll fail you, because they're also, their job is also considered a business. They're part of the group of businesses that fail within 10 years. So 90% of them will fail you within 10 years. So if you're someone who wants to invest in cryptocurrencies, in cryptocurrencies, if you're not the one creating the cryptocurrency company yourself or the cryptocurrency business yourself, you just want to invest in it, do not invest in the new startups. There's a high chance, over a 90% chance that it'll fail within 10 years. Over a 90% chance. You still have to factor in the scams. Regular businesses fail within 10 years. 90% of them fail within 10 years. So when it comes to the cryptocurrency space, if you're adding the scams and the liars and the tricksters and the criminals and the cartel members and all the other scammers out there, all the other ways people can steal money from you, that 90% now is not has now increased to like 92, 93, 94, maybe even 99%. Who knows? But I know it's not, it would definitely not stay at 90% failure. The rate would definitely not be a 90% failure rate. It would definitely be much higher within 10 years, in the cryptocurrency space. So if you're someone who wants to invest in the cryptocurrency space, you have to know that, the statistics go against you. The statistics of success goes against you. So be careful out there, and you have to really, really be careful when it comes to the cryptocurrency space, and especially when it comes to businesses as well. Not all businesses succeed. In 10 years, most of the businesses you see around you will fail. Most of the business startups I'm talking about will fail. 90% of them, and don't fall for the scams that I've been in the cryptocurrency industry for years now, probably more than a decade now, and I've seen all these fresh graduates from all these Ivy League schools create cryptocurrency projects. There's so many cryptocurrency projects created by people from Harvard, Yale, X, Y, Z, all these large, big schools, reputable schools. And guess what? After 10 plus years, most of them has disappeared from the face of the earth. Do not fall for the scam that just because the business, is being founded by some sort of, guru or some sort of genius. It automatically means it will succeed within 10 years. All those businesses that I've invested in, that I've researched, some of them I didn't even invest in. I just did research on it. 10 years later, they're nowhere to be found. They've all disappeared. Whether they graduated from Harvard or Yale or whatever, they've all disappeared from the face of the earth. That's what you're dealing with. Whether they graduated from Ivy League school or not, they fall under the 90% rule. Who cares where they graduated from? 90% of businesses fail. Whether the businesses were created by Yale students or they were created by MSU students, it doesn't matter. Or LCC students, it doesn't matter. 90% of them will fail. So do not fall for the scam that just because this person has a high degree or has 10 years or 20 plus years of experience, it doesn't matter. I've seen people 40 years plus experience. Yes, there are people back then in the cryptocurrency space that created projects. They have 40 years of experience of creating businesses. Where are they now? They're nowhere to be found. You have to be careful. Do not let people trick you into thinking, just because they succeeded before, they'll succeed now. Wait 10 years and then invest in those cryptocurrencies. Wait 10 years and invest in the cryptocurrency projects that have value, that have been proven to have value. Or if you want to invest in cryptocurrencies or in businesses, invest in the ones that have been around for 10 years plus. The new cryptocurrency, there are many businesses that have been around for 10 years plus that aren't as famous, but it's still as good. There's still many good businesses out there that's been around for 10 years. Just being around for 10 years and not failing, that's a good sign in and of itself. If you see a business that's been around for 10 years and there's no sign of failure within them, that's a good sign of, if everything still looks like, it's still going strong, if everything looks like it's still going strong with the business, they look like they're rising, they look like they're making money, they look like, they're advancing after 10 years, that's likely a more beneficial business for you to invest in. Playing the gambling game with new startups like ICOs and all that, there's a 90% chance of failure. Within 10 years, you have a 90% chance of failure. Whether the person has 10 years of experience or 50 years of experience, it doesn't matter. The moment they start a new business, there's a 90% chance that business will fail. A 90% chance. Do you want to play, that gambling game with your money when there's a 90% chance your money, will go, poof? Your money will disappear within 10 years. The company will file for bankruptcy within 10 years. The cryptocurrency, that you invest in will disappear within 10 years. Why risk all that? Why risk your money investing in businesses, that'll disappear within 10 years when you can invest in businesses right now that have already passed their 10-year mark. They've already been around for 10 good years and they're still going strong. What do you think is more beneficial for you? But this isn't financial advice, I'm just giving you something to think about. I'm just giving you some, a warning that, if 90% of businesses fail, don't play that gambling game, You're the one that's going to lose more than, anyone else. Some of these businesses, even if they fail, they can still take your money with them. Some of these businesses fail because the business owners aren't good at managing money. It doesn't mean the business owners go broke. It just means they're not good at managing money. So they'll take your money as an investor to make themselves richer, and make the business fail. Instead of investing in the business, They're investing in themselves. That's why the business failed. So you don't want to give your money to some of these businesses only for them to hoard your money and make the business fail anyways. So now you're out of money and the business has failed, but the business owners are still rich because they're rich from your money. So this is what you have to be careful of. Do not trust most of these cryptocurrency projects, especially the newer ones. The newer ones, I'm telling you, just do your research on them, but just be careful. Be very, very careful. If 90% of businesses fail, that should tell you something. It tells you should be even more careful than you already are when it comes to investing in businesses, and especially in cryptocurrencies. So that's it for today's podcast. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.